Welcome to Mysterium Optism Theta. Tonight's episode, SpiderTeen. Some Nights, a Michael x Camille fanfic by SpiderTeen, published June 30th, 2015. It's 6 a.m., and Michael is tossing and turning in his sleep, murmuring, "No, stop it," mutters Michael. His friend and roommate, Camille, is sleeping next to him and is woken by the disturbance. "Michael, wake up," said Camille, shaking Michael's shoulder to wake him up. "No," shouts Michael, sitting up immediately. Looks around and relaxes a bit. "What's wrong, Michael?" asks Camille. "This is the third nightmare you've had this week. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Cam," said Michael, getting up. "I just need to go think for a bit." He walks out of his bedroom and goes to his little office down the hall. He sits down at his desk and taps the holographic communicator sitting next to it. "Call Mateo," said Michael. The device responded by dialing his best friend's number and waited for him to answer. At Mateo's house. Mateo was asleep at his desk. Apparently he fell asleep trying to do something in his computer. "Ring, ring, ring!" He bangs his head against the desk as he wakes up. It takes a minute to wake up and figure out the noise is coming from his HC. He enters the communicator and yawns. Back at Michael's house. Michael waits for Mateo to answer the phone. "It's bad enough that I'm losing control of my emotions. Now I'm losing my best friend," he murmurs to himself. "Hey, Michael," said Mateo, his face appearing in holographic form. "Matt, I was starting to think you weren't going to answer the phone," said Michael. "Well, it is pretty early in the morning, so that is to be expected," said Mateo. "Hey, Matt, do you remember when I told you I was SpiderTeen?" asked Michael. "You thought I was joking at first, then you freaked out when I was serious." Both of them laughed a bit, and Michael goes back to looking distant. "Yep," said Mateo, then noticing Michael's sudden change in facial expression. "But I know you didn't call me just to reminisce. What's wrong?" "Something that never should have happened," said Michael, then going back and forth with a decision to tell his best friend his emotional conflict. "You know what? Why am I telling you this? You'll never understand it." "Dude, I'm your best friend," said Mateo. "Of course I'll understand." Michael thinks for a moment before answering. "A human has fallen in love with a wallaby," said Michael. Mateo thinks about this statement for a moment with his eyes with surprise. "Holy," said Mateo. "See, I knew you would understand," said Michael, very exasperated. "Just go back to bed, Matt, and I'll sort this out myself." No, I'm your best friend. I'm always with you 99.9% of the time," said Mateo. "Yeah, this is that 0.1% you don't agree with me on," said Michael. "Michael, I'm agreeing with you 100% on this," said Mateo assuringly. "First off, are you sure that it's love and not just a big crush?" "Since when did you become Dr. Love?" asked Michael. "Since I became your best friend," said Mateo smugly. "Now, out with it." Michael sighs heavily before answering. "Well, I've googled it and anonymously asked a few other girls about it." Work on your fucking grammar, kid. "Even asked my psychologist, who was a 21-year-old woman," said Michael. "And it is, for a fact." Michael brings his voice down in embarrassment. "Well, of course," said Michael. Mateo was somewhat relieved by the words, since he's had to keep Camille's secret for 3 years. Now Mateo has to try to work up letting Michael know that secret. "Okay, well, you're in love with Camille. That's good. Or am I missing something?" asked Mateo. "The problem is the fact that she's a wallaby. And on top of that, she's my friend," said Michael. "It's morally wrong." "Okay, what led you to call me so early in the morning?" asked Mateo. "I've had dreams." "What kind of dreams?" "It's the same one over and over. It's of me and Camille." "Have you ever told anyone about your dreams or how you feel?" "Well, that's a stupid question." "Of course not," said Michael. "I can't tell Milo because he'll freak out and tell the whole world." "Yeah, he'll do that," said Mateo, chuckling. "I can't tell Alfred because I don't know how he'll react," said Michael. "And I definitely can't tell Camille. I just can't. What if she doesn't like me back? Cities will burn, ships will sink, and worst of all, things will be awkward between the two of us." "No, it wouldn't." A female voice behind Michael makes him stiffen up. He turns around and sees Camille, standing in the doorway. Camille? What? How did... Michael stammered, completely dumbfounded at the sight of her. How did you get there? The floorboards are really creaky. I would have heard you, and it's also really early for you to be up. Michael, you fixed those boards last week, said Camille. Also, it's 8. You've been in here for 2 hours. Michael facepalms and suddenly looks at Mateo in disbelief. Wait, that means it's almost 8 o'clock, said Mateo hurriedly. I've gotta go. See you guys later. Then he cuts the communication line, and both Michael and Camille sit in silence. Then Camille goes over to Michael and sits next to him, trying to search his face for signs of emotion. All she sees is deep thoughts and determination. This is why I didn't want to say anything, said Michael finally. Why? Asked Camille. Because of this awkward silence between the two of us, said Michael, covering his face with his hands involuntarily. How much did you hear anyway? From the point when you said, a human has fallen in love with a wallaby, said Camille, looking solemn. Well then, there's nothing to deny, since you pretty much heard everything, said Michael, getting up and going back to the bedroom. Camille gets up and follows him, trying to keep up with his fast pace. This is my only chance to tell him how I feel, she thought. When she gets to their room, she finds Michael sitting on top of the ceiling, and the radio is on. Some Nights by Fun is playing. Michael, Camille starts out, but is cut off by Michael. Look, Camille, ever since I met you and the others in Gnarly Woods, I always knew we would be friends, and even then I liked you, said Michael, not coming down from the ceiling. I just didn't know how to put it out there, since I'm mostly a shy guy when it comes to my feelings. So I'm just going to say it outright. I'm in love with you, Camille Wallaby. I don't know what your reaction is, but I hope it doesn't ruin our friendship. He fidgets a little, waiting for the sting of rejection he's been used to most of his life. Look, Michael, I said that it wouldn't ruin anything, said Camille. Because I'm in love with you too. Michael turns around, still on the ceiling, a bit surprised by Camille's statement. He barely has enough time to register an answer, and Camille kisses him on the lips. Unlike the kisses they've shared before, ones that didn't mean anything, this one was filled with passion and love. When they finally break off, Camille can still see the doubt in his eyes. She devises a quick plan. But you're right, our love can't be, she says. As planned, she sees Michael's eyes widen in emotional agony. She winces herself at the way that sounded so cliché. Michael jumps down from the ceiling and paces near the radio to help him think better. Camille smiles to herself as she sees her plan go into effect. She's used reverse psychology before to get her way. She waits as the song goes on. This is it. I've sold my soul for this. I've washed my hands in doubt for this. I've missed my mom and my dad for this. No, says Michael, looking up with a stern look on his face. What? Said Camille. I mean, I'm not going to ruin this just because of my doubts. I'm just going to go with the flow and follow my heart, says Michael, walking over to Camille. So, what does your heart say? Asked Camille. They wait for a long moment as the song goes on. As I look into my nephew's eyes, man, you won't believe the most amazing thing that can come from... It says you, said Michael. Some terrible nights. Ah. And with that, Michael kisses Camille, this kiss lasting longer than the first. When they finally break off, the song is over, and they both sit on the bed. So, what are we going to tell our friends? Asked Michael. Enough with the questions already, said Camille. I want to do something fun now. Oh, dear God. She has a mischievous look in her eye. Michael looks at her, and his eyes widen. He's seen that look before on her face, usually before she does something pleasant but unpleasant to him. But he doesn't know what, because it's always been random. Cam, you'd better not, is all he has to get out before she dives on him and tackles him and starts tickling. His stomach is his only weak spot. No, stop. Please don't. Stop it. Camille ignores his laughter-filled cries of desperation and continues to play with him as if he's a puppy dog. Make me, she countered. After a while, Michael gathers enough serious strength to fix his hand into a sign that to anyone else would have been a simple sign of love, but turns this hand into a useful tool. Thwip! A web line shoots out of his wrist and hits Camille's raised hand. When it thickens, he pulls her hand down and moves her just so he can get enough leverage to jump on him and turn the tables on Camille, then starts tickling her. No, fair, ha 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 ha, using your powers, ha ha ha, like that. Camille sputters out while laughing. Soon, Michael stops tickling her, and they just sit there like they're... the fuck? They just sit there like they are, panting heavily. I hope this moment never ends, said Michael. Me too, said Camille. And with that, they kissed for the third time that morning. Ring. Ring. The holographic communicator near the bed starts ringing, and the automatic answering machine picks in. It's Alfred. What the... said Alfred, seeing Michael and Camille kissing. They break off and sit up in embarrassment. I told you not to have that answering machine installed in that thing, whispered Camille to Michael. My bad, he said back. A few seconds later, Alfred busts out laughing. It's about time, he said. Why are you calling so early, said Michael. Hints of irritation danced on his face. Well, first off, it's 9, said Alfred, still snickering. And we have a bank robbery in progress on 5th and 3rd Avenue. We need some help because they have heavy firepower. On my way, said Michael. Oh, and by the way, said Alfred. What? Said Michael. Take good care of Camille, okay? Said Alfred. You gotta ask, said Michael. Gotta make sure, said Alfred. Then he cuts the communication. You spell check your shit, dude. Michael looks at Camille. Duty calls, he said. Then he gets up to get dressed. When he emerges out of the closet, he's wearing his usual attire. A red and blue t-shirt, with a red spider on the back and a black one on the front. Basic blue jeans. Standard carry belt with a holstered .44 Magnum Colt Anaconda revolver and a Glock 12 pistol shoved in the back waistband. I'll have breakfast ready by the time you get back, said Camille. I shouldn't be that long. It's just a bank robbery, said Michael, going over to the window. Be careful, said Camille, kissing Michael on the cheek. I will, said Michael, and with that, he jumps out of the window and starts to whip swing. Camille looks out after him and sighs. The end. Finally. Thank fuck.